Hello again. Now, South Africa's aviation sector is said to be among the safest in the world. Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula says a lot of work has been poured into ensuring that the sector remains safe. Heading into this festive season, the skies, of course, will be full of jet-setting holiday makers, and with domestic flights under pressure and concerns over jet fuel supplies, how will the sector cope? Well, she's got some of those answers this afternoon. She's my fellow anchor here and reporter at eNCA, Heidi Giokos, back with us after that from that briefing by Fikile Mbalula. Good afternoon, Heidi. Welcome to today. Thank you very much for your time. South Africa's aviation is like the safest in the world.
Yes,
I would not have thought so. I don't know why, but you just make this assumption that we are bad at so many things that we do, unfortunately. You know?
Yes,
we tend to be negative, but we are the safest in the world.
Yes, that's one thing that we are very good at, and hopefully it stays that way, because you would not want the aviation sector to be unsafe.
Indeed.
You definitely want to avoid that. But yes, indeed, according to various reports and indexes that the minister referred to today in his briefing, Minister Fikile Mbalula, he indicated that we are above average. Normally the average is about between 60 and 70%. We are sitting at over 80% when it comes to being the safest in the aviation sector, and this has a lot to do with the fact that we have a very reputable civil aviation authority.
Yeah, I remember last year they moved quickly against some of the airlines.
Yes.
Some of them might not exist today.
Yes.
Because of
Come
the impact. Yeah, they moved very quickly and to keep passengers safe, yes.
Yes, so they make sure that they move in when they are supposed to. They make sure that all regulations are adhered to. And this is why the minister is saying a lot of work goes into this. And this is why we also need to respect the processes of the Civil Aviation Authority. There's always a lot of anger and frustration when passengers are left deserted at airports because of the grounding or suspension of flights issued by the Civil Aviation Authority. But they need to make sure that everything goes according to plan and that there is due diligence. So moving into the festive season, Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula says that everybody must remain vigilant and, of course, try and be safe as possible. He's also indicated that as the Transport Department, there are measures in place to make sure that everybody is safe and that there's no pandemonium, because there's always a lot of panic when we travel in December, and he's, of course, trying to avoid that. But let's listen to Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula on that.
Aviation is one of the transport modes that are critical to the socio-economic development of our country and the citizens. When government established the Civil Aviation National Regulator, the primary goal was to establish an autonomous body that will ensure the safety and security of our skies and create an environment that is conducive for the industry to grow and thrive in the most cost-effective way. The SACAR is therefore responsible for ensuring that our national civil aviation safety and security systems are comparable or exceed the standards of first world countries. These therefore play a critical role in enabling South African operators and related businesses to compete favorably across the globe.
You know, Heidi, the aviation industry, because of the pandemic, suffered quite a lot. And now this year, after lockdowns and people are beginning to travel more and more, I mean, millions of travelers coming to South Africa, for example, since January, you wonder if they'll be able to manage, because jet fuel has gone up like, and then the supplies recently with problems in Cape Town with shortages. And so, did the minister speak about the jet fuel situation?
Well, he left that question to AXA CEO, Airports Company South Africa, to answer, because they, of course, need to account to what exactly is going on at all airports across the country. And it seems as though the issue has been resolved. Now, the issue stems from the fact that they had an issue with the supplier, and there was also a massive issue with the KZN floods that impacted supply of jet fuel to the various airports. Now, this is unacceptable, because you have airlines globally saying they're very worried about flying into South Africa because of the jet fuel shortage and the fact that there is almost an inability of AXA to control this shortage, be it because of the prices going up or be it because of access to this. So what AXA has indicated is that they will they've now tried to strategize to find a way to have their own reserves of jet fuel and not necessarily rely on suppliers to avoid this from happening. But we suffered a big knock, Bradan, and the reason for this is because you had airlines airlines in America saying, we're not going to fly to South Africa. You also had international airlines rerouting because of this jet fuel shortage. So according to AXA, they have it under control, but we'll just have to wait and see, especially come December, because it is our peak season, it is our summer season, and we'll be having a lot of flights coming in.
Yeah, and there might be more planes in the air. I mean, a few weeks ago, here on Today, Heidi, I interviewed the FlySafe marketing manager. Said they're buying more planes as you're heading, or leasing rather more planes as you're heading to have a bigger fleet. Thank you very much, Heidi. So at least we know we're the safest. Our skies are the safest, and we will have in reserve some jet fuel. Thank you very much, Heidi Giokos, for that update from the aviation industry.